Hello, everyone. Welcome to SparrowCast. And we have Subhanjan Sarkar with us today. He is the founder of PitchLink, a SaaS in the buying sales technology stack. Subhanjan has a demonstrated history in the media and e learning industries. He holds 3 US patents and is skilled in entrepreneurship, strategic partnerships, management, and startups. And he's here with us today to share his insights on refocusing startup energy into getting revenue and not funding. Welcome to the show, Subhanjan. We're so happy that you agreed to be a part of this. I'm super excited.
I'm super excited too, Jeku, and thank you for having me on the show. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job with SparrowCast. It's a great idea. One of the things, before we get into the topic, I really marvel about is how easy it is to learn today and how little of that opportunity most of us are making use of. I mean, the amount of time is spent in social media, looking at completely, useless videos and entertainment and posts and so on and memes. Uh, I find it such a loss that when you can go and learn from places like Harvard or MIT or you name it, uh, you are not making good use of it. So yeah, I'm glad to be here, and I'm happy with what you guys are doing. I'm very happy to be part of it.
All right, pleasure is ours. So, without any further ado, let's begin our session. So, over to you.
Well, the topic essentially that we want to talk about today is that why is it that worldwide, when you look at this entire phenomena of startups, uh, which is really global today. It is no longer Silicon Valley, it's no longer Silicon Plateau as in Bangalore, it's literally everywhere. Why is it there is a completely lopsided focus on funding and not revenue? So I don't know whether you're aware, I do a podcast called Bits About Books. And in that, I was interviewing the founder of Moz, Rand Fishkin, a few weeks back. And I was discussing the same topic with Rand. And he was telling that it's true that if you today go on LinkedIn and you write that I our startup has done $250,000 of revenue, few people will come and say congratulations, well done, and so on. But if you went and said I or my startup has raised $1 million of funding, everybody will be all over you. It's a mindset issue. It's sort of like cracking the IIT exam and going to IIT. Funding is like that. You crack an exam and you get funded, but the real job really starts after that. The fact is 90 to 95% of funded companies fail worldwide. Funding is not the certification for success. But we somehow have glorified this funding in such a big way, and media is equally to be blamed there. Because you get funded, you are likely to spend on media, you're likely to buy advertisement. So media writes about it. So it's a quid pro quo. But it's a completely useless process because end of it, 90 to 95 startup founders out of 100 will actually fail and lose their personal money, their time, their reputation, and so on. So I think we have a lopsided view of funding. What is more critical, and again, none of this that I'm saying is my own idea. Steve Blank wrote a book on the 4 steps to epiphany, and he spoke about how you should go out and talk to the customer first. And that, by the way, was the basis of the lean movement, which was founded by Eric Rice. If what is the lean movement? Lean movement is go and engage with the customer the first opportunity you have an idea, you go and talk to a customer. Who are you building it for? If you are building it for yourself, great, then there is no problem. If you are the buyer and you are the seller, problem solved. But that's not the case. You are a salesperson, when you have to take your product out and you have to try to sell it in some other geography, and you have to go to US or UK, and you try to figure out what language that you speak will fit the language they speak and so on. It's not an easy job. So the faster you start, the better off you will be. And remember, when the customer gives you money, and end of the day, all funded companies need revenue. No funded company will survive because they have got funding. Each one of them have to get revenue. So I was again talking at a particular meet and of startups, and they were asking me, why do we not do it? Why do we not talk to customers? Why is it? We all know we'll need revenue. We'll have to get somebody to pay us for what we are building, but we don't do that. Why? So I say it's the same story like what we have in college. You like this girl, but you will not go and talk to her. You know why? Because you know there is a very high possibility she'll reject you. But if you can continue to dream about her for the next 2 years without talking to her, then your dream is alive, right? But if you go and talk to her and she rejects, it's over. So it's the same thing. It's the same psychology. We try to put off talking to the customers as far as possible so that we are not being rejected by the customer. That's the core fear that we have. I mean, as long as I'm not talking to the actual customer, as long as I'm trying to convince you or a funder, I can give n number of reasons and logic why it will work. I can't give logic to the guy who is supposed to buy from me. If he says, no, I don't think it makes sense, it means it makes no sense. So if you want to build a truly successful startup, you need to go and talk to your customer. Even if you're doing a Me Too product, there is a Flipkart, you want to do a Snapdeal. There is a Groupon, you want to do something. There is a eBay, you want to do a Bazi, whatever. You need to go and talk to the customer. It's true for your company, it's true for my company, it's true for everybody. It doesn't matter. I'm making a car, 4 wheels, same engine, and I want to throw in this seat warmer, and I want to put this anti-fog light or whatever, and that's why I think you'll buy it. No, that's not what you are thinking about. You're thinking about, should I switch from internal combustion engine to electric?
That's actually a great ideology, especially, and just love the way you were talking about the school session, the fear of getting rejected. I think everybody can like really relate to it. So I mean, talking about the same thing, I thought of just having like few questions to you on the same perspectives, if you're comfortable.
Sure.
So why is that most startup focus their time and resources on getting funding rather than revenue, if they know that revenue is more important? What would be the mentality?
Okay, so I'll again step back and I'll come back. I'll possibly repeat some of the stuff I said already, but tell me, do you know exercising every day is healthy for you?
Yes,
Do you
absolutely.
think anybody in your circle doesn't know that?
No.
So why is it that we all don't exercise? We know we should not do rash driving. We should not cross a red signal. We all know. You'll be surprised how many things we do or don't do, even knowing what is right for it. So there is no reliability of human beings of taking the right decision. Human beings are extremely fickle. It's the same thing. That's number one. Number two, it's the narrative. You have drilled down into the head of would-be startup founders that, hey, if you do a startup, you need to get funded. And your whole life is driven towards that. And you don't want to think of revenue because you might get rejected, which means your dream will come crashing down. It's much better to try and talk to that girl's friend's friend and say, hey, can you introduce me to her? It's much easier because you push off the real verdict as far as possible. So I think it's a dual problem. One problem is this inherent problem of finding out that your idea doesn't matter, and you're so passionately involved with your idea, you love it, you want to build it. That's why you're a startup founder, by the way. You have this idea which is consuming you. You are dreaming, you're waking up, you're thinking of it, and you also have some skills or some friends who will sit and build it. Building is a very exhilarating experience. It's like painting or singing. Even if nobody is listening to you and you enjoy singing, you'd like to sing. So most startup entrepreneurs are caught up in that uh, romantic notion of building, and not the romance getting tested and then rejected and so on, right? So one side it's this whole excitement about doing things which we want not to lose. I mean, I have an idea, I do a prototype quickly, I go to customers, 5 of them, they reject it. Then what do? I have to wait for another idea. Rather, I don't go to the customer, but I keep building on it. I keep having new ideas. I keep adding to that idea, and I keep building and building and building. In the meantime, parallelly run to VCs and angel investors. If you are lucky, your father will write you an initial check, or your brother or your friends, and you'll use that money because they like you and they say, okay, Jeku has a good idea. He's a nice boy. Let us give him some money. What is there? He's trying it out. They're not really trying to sort of uh, look at you or your idea with a magnifying glass, and some of them will be, and they'll not give you the money, and you'll find that this uncle is really not a good guy, and so on. And maybe he's not. I'm not getting into that. But the point is that you'd rather go and spend months together trying to get an appointment with a VC, trying to listen to them. And by the way, VCs will give you opinion about anything. It doesn't matter. You may be somebody who has been working in artificial intelligence for all your life, and you go to a VC who has never written a line of code, has no idea what is machine learning, but knows the buzzwords. He will give you ideas and advice how you should do your business.
Right.
Anyway, long story short, we have glorified funding and we have completely marginalized the customer. That's the story of the current startup thought process.
So what do you think? I mean, the path that the startup should be taking to reap benefits in the long term.
See, in the long term, you're all dead. So there has to be short term. Okay.
Okay.
So my thought is very simple. If you have an idea, before you do anything, go and talk to 5 people, not your friends, not your uncle's friends. You have to identify who is your potential buyer and reach out to them. Today it's so easy. There are 600 million people on LinkedIn. If you are an unknown person and you approach 5 known people, one will connect with you. That is the truth. And if you connect with them and you ask for advice, 90% of the people who connect with me, the second communication they send me is that, will you buy this? Obviously, I don't engage with them. But anybody who has come to me asking for inputs, there's sometimes I've said, hey, you know what? I have no idea about this, but I know this guy, Jeku, who has been in sales and he has worked in Amazon and he has worked in Freshworks. He will be able to help you. I will request him to talk to you. He will give you some inputs. I know he can help you. People are surprisingly open to helping other people. But we don't do that. We don't ask for inputs. So if I have an idea, if you have an idea, anybody has an idea, what you should do, articulate it well, make a one-pager that this is the problem I see, this is the solution I have in mind, this is how I intend to solve it. Does this make any sense to you? Reach out to 100 people, 10 will connect, ask those 10, not your friends again, not your known people, unknown people. That's what I would do.
Okay. So, I mean, but most cases, all these ideologies which the business leaders will be having, I mean, especially from the startups. So, I mean, what can they think about bringing about a change in the mindset of the employees as well?
Okay, so part of it is already sort of known, but fundamentally what you have to understand is you have to ensure that everybody is involved in the success of the company. Nobody should say, hey, I'm writing the code, I have got nothing to do with the customer. Or hey, I'm doing the design, I really like this color scheme, take it or leave it. No. everybody should be in the customer service department. Everybody, from the CEO to the fifth person or the 10th person that you have, because if you're a startup, you should not be having more than 5 or 6 people. Everybody should be customer facing. Everybody should be going and validating the what they are doing with customers input. Hey, listen, Jeku, one thing I'll tell you. The world, from industrialization, what did industrialization do? Industrialization for the first time separated production from consumption. Otherwise, consumption used to happen where production was happening, in the village economy, in the small economy, in the local economy. People were producing and people were consuming. It was very, very tightly knit. Industrialization completely separated it. So you could produce at mass, which means you had to sell mass, which means you needed advertising and so on and so on, right?
Yeah.
So that entire era was driven by supply. The entire processes, the chain, the logistics, the advertising, the media, everything was driven by supply. With internet, that has shifted 180 degrees and the buyers are in charge now. Believe it or not. You have to be aligned with the buyer. You have to ask the buyer, would you want this? Would you want it at this time? Would you want it out of that shelf or this shelf? Trust me, that's where it is going. Unless everybody in the organization is aligned to the customer, you'll have a tough time.
Wow, great. So, Subhanjan, that was truly an amazing session. So I'm sure that our audience too appreciates the insights and thoughts you just shared with us today. Thank you so much for that. So let me just, summarize the key takeaways from our session today, which my team has prepared. So we would say, funding is not the certification for success. 90% of the funded companies fail. It's revenue from your customers that helps the company. If you want to lead your company to success, talk to your customers and understand their needs better. Identify your potential buyers and build relationships where you get to ask for inputs. From the CEO to every team in an organization must be treated like customer facing department and in the known of customer inputs. So once again, thank you for your time and thank you for sharing your thoughts, Subhanjan. And we shall see you again in the next SparrowCast. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. I really enjoyed talking to you.
All right.